Good morning, Willett family. I wish I were there with you today, but when God designed our marvelous bodies, in His wisdom, He did not include a lifetime warranty. My problems with my neuropathy seem to have passed a threshold where it is difficult to walk even with a cane or with help of others. That said, I wish to welcome Rudy Lovelace and Antonio Glenn as deacons to the Willett family. Last week, Pastor said that churches do not call men to be deacons, God does. I agree with that, but I want to point out that, as in most things, God uses us all as tools to accomplish His will. Pastor and I have been praying about additional deacons for some time to fulfill our role as God's agents in doing the calling. So when Pastor asked me what I thought about contacting these two men about becoming deacons, I said I wanted to pray about it for a week. At the end of that week, I approached both Rudy and Tony to be as to their willingness to serve, and they both agreed they were willing to take on that responsibility. I'm sure that most of you are at least somewhat familiar with the scriptural descriptions of the desired characteristics and responsibilities of the offices of church, pastor, elder, and deacon. In general, they are all to be of good reputation and respected by the church. They should all have a good attitude. By that I mean that they should understand the relationship God desires to have with us, and they should sincerely wish to do their best to be obedient to God's direction, have the faith and trust in God, and actually have the desired relationship. I am reminded when I was a POW that the North Vietnamese felt that when I wasn't being sufficiently following the rules and being obedient to their orders, they would say, "You have bad attitude. You must not have bad attitude. You must have good attitude." They were right. We must all have a good attitude toward God. For deacons, the emphasis is to take on the role of servant. We are all familiar with the original purpose was to take on the task of caring for the widows and orphans of the church. Today, the duties are more broad than that. They are generally seen as whatever will help the pastor fulfill his responsibilities. But the role is still that of a servant. For that reason, I don't see it as a position that you should strive for. You cannot go to your pastor and say you want him to make you a deacon. I would worry that your motivation would be a desire to be seen as someone special in the church body or in an elite position. In general, I don't see the deacon as a leadership position like pastor or elder, and thus generally think an individual should not serve in multiple roles, though I recognize that sometimes in small churches it might be necessary. When Rudy and Tony agreed, Pastor wanted to have a study about what it meant to be a deacon. At first, I wasn't thrilled about spending the time as I had already been 2 studies about it and had a book. I knew that both Rudy and Tony had been deacons in other churches. We all know how good Pastor is at estimating how long things will take, and 3 2-hour sessions was suspect. But as always, getting in the Word is a good idea, and I got to know Rudy and Tony much better as individuals, and it was a good time of fellowship and as well as study. So I call on all of you to help me welcome Rudy and Tony as deacons, and I hope it won't be too long before I am back with you in person.